Why I DNF'd it was because of this one line of an example he was using. It just rubbed me completely the wrong way. And like I said, I can be kind of a sensitive snowflake, but this took it kind of a level too far for me. Do I need to have a trigger warning for this video? Okay, trigger warning for, yeah, homophobia and toxic sexual assault. Like, okay, this book was really too much for me. I really don't know what else to say.
Hey, what up writers? I'm Violet, an aspiring YA author. Welcome back to my channel. So on my channel, I wanted to be doing craft book reviews, but the last one I did was back in April, and I even added it to my channel banner. I have in my channel description that I'm a methodological pantser, which pretty much just means I like studying story structure and story craft, but not necessarily applying it in sort of the form of an outline. So learning about craft has been part of my writing journey, part of the thing I wanted to include on this channel. But like I said, it is now September and I haven't uploaded a craft book review since April. And that is because one particular craft book put me into such a slump about writing craft that I just couldn't get out of it and I didn't know what to do. And originally I was like, I'm just not gonna talk about this book. And then I was like, no, if I have a negative review, I should just put it out there. Okay, so this is the first craft book that I DNF'd. I did not finish this. And like several of the other craft books I read, I sometimes can be a little bit of a sensitive snowflake and have opinions about harmful language or things that I don't really agree with. And this kind of took it to a different level for me with this book. So I'm just gonna, without further ado, tell you the book I'm talking about. And that is 20 Master Plots and How to Build Them by Ronald B. Tobias. Okay, so I'm gonna give a little bit of backstory about why I picked this up. So back in April, I had been rewatching the Brandon Sanderson lecture series just as a little bit of inspiration to get into writing. If you haven't seen his lecture series, I would highly recommend it. It's really great. But in one of his lectures, he's talking about story and kind of the idea about different types of plots, not necessarily genre, but plot. And he was given the example of his own book where, yes, it's a high fantasy, but the plot is a heist plot. And he said like, oh, there's, all these different types of plot types and it really helps to know what type of story you're writing. And he said like, oh, there's more than 7 types of plots, which I think he was referring to this other book, 7 Basic Plots, as well as Save the Cat has their genres, which is kind of the same thing as the basic plots. And I had known about this book because I always looking on Amazon, in my local bookstore, and on Scribd, and in my library for whatever craft books are out there. So I knew about this book. So when Brandon Sanderson was talking about these different plot types, I immediately was like, I would like to learn more. And he said, hey, there's more than 7. And I knew this book existed of the 20 master plots. So I went and I put it in my cart and I bought it. And the other reason I thought this would be a good one is it's a Writer's Digest book, and so was Writing Monsters, which was a craft book that I really enjoyed. Check out my review on that. So I thought, yes, this was a great book to look into. I was so excited, and when it arrived, I was thrilled. So how this book is set up is it kind of has some intro chapters and then it gets into the 20 master plots, each having their own sort of chapter. So I'm going to get into a little bit of the good, bad, and ugly. Of course, I can't give a full review because I DNF'd. So I DNF'd, I can tell you on the exact page, was page 113. So you can see here, I read about this much and then I did not read this. I did skim it just for the purposes of doing a review video. So the thing about these introduction chapters is they were great. Before I got into the 20 master plots, I was really enjoying this book. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, the lowest common plot denominators, deep structure, triangles, strong force, and it was just really nice. I like reading about writing, and he just had an interesting view about so many different subjects. I highlighted a lot. I put a lot of page markers. I have a lot of passages in here that really stood out to me. And in the beginning of this book, I was really thinking, is this going to be the one that I say is a must-buy, must-read craft book? And I had like really high expectations going into this because I was really enjoying those beginning chapters. And then when it got into the master plots, I was all of a sudden extremely disappointed because I guess it wasn't what I was expecting. The examples were so stiff and old, it was really a slog to get through. So the pursuit, the escape, the adventure plot. Like he's giving all these plots, but the examples were so boring and stiff, and I just found myself almost falling asleep reading it. And the only kind of silver lining to that was in the back of each section was then like a checklist. And I always say I love like a good sort of checklist and a summary at the end of a chapter. And it gave a checklist of what should be in each of that type of plot. And to be honest, I think it didn't really need much more than that, or that's really what shines there, is that little checklist, versus the actual explanation of the plots really fell flat. Like I said, the examples, and it almost gets to a point where it's repetitive because there's 20 plots and some of the differences between them were very similar. And like I said, I only got to plot number 5 before I DNF'd, and it was like, okay. So that was kind of the good, the bad, and now we have to get into the ugly. This is actually why I DNF'd it, was because of this one line of an example he was using. It just rubbed me completely the wrong way. And like I said, I can be kind of a sensitive snowflake, but this took it kind of a level too far for me, for my personal taste, that I just could no longer continue with this book in good conscience. I tried to read past or even skim past, but I just couldn't. This book was so tainted for me because of this one line. So he was, during the escape plot, he was using this example from this prison escape. The book was Midnight Express. I've never heard of this book. I don't know what happens in it. I just know he was using it as an example. So here's the line, and I just couldn't go on after this. Hayes is determined to serve his time and get out, even though he must witness homosexual crimes, knifings, even torturing of children. And I read that and I was like, huh? Did I just read that right? Like, what the hell are homosexual crimes? Like, I like did a double take. I was like, what? What is he saying with that? And I was like, is this just me, or is that like the worst thing I've ever read? Like, what is that? Like, really? Okay, so I was like, okay, he's talking about prison. Okay, of course there's this prison stereotype of, you know, there's this prison stereotype, and I was like, okay, is that what happens in this book? And then I was like, do I need to go do research about this book and about this author, about what he's trying to say here? And it's like, he's paraphrasing this. He can phrase it however he wants. He didn't have to choose that wording. Oh, like, what the hell does homosexual crimes mean? Okay, is he saying like it's a crime to be gay? No, okay, I think what he's talking about is like unconsensual relations. And I was like, okay, because there's a word for that, and it's rape. But is he talking about a consensual thing? Like, I was like, okay, whatever this wording is, like, I was just so highly offended by this. So usually when I get into this state where I'm very triggered by something, I take the passage, I bring it over to my partner, who's much more, you know, calm, collected, analytical, not so emotional like I am, and I say, hey, could you just read over this for me and tell me how you, if there's anything that stands out to you, if you feel a certain way about this. I did this with some of the other craft books, like that I had some, you know, ideas where I was getting a little bit sensitive about some certain passages. So I had my partner read over this, and he was like, holy shit, that's messed up. So okay, so when I get a second opinion, and he felt the same way, then I was like, okay, this is messed up. So I was like looking back, okay, this book was published in 1993. Is there anything else about this? Can I find anything about this author? I tried to do some research as best as I could. I'm like, do I have to do a lot of research and say something about this? And then I was kind of like, no, why should I have to, for a craft review, go and do a deep dive about this guy's life and this book and the times? And I was like, for me, it's just a line in the sand. That phrasing was just unacceptable, and I could not in good conscience continue this book. I did skim through it, and there was another part a little bit talking about forbidden love, and that also mentioned sort of homosexuality, and it just gave like a little thing saying homosexual love was considered taboo, and it didn't really give any other personal opinions on it. But for me, that was just, you know, that was over the line for me. And yeah, this book for me was trash. And the thing is, if it had been before that section, really great, maybe I could have like continued and just got the writerly stuff out of it. But the fact that it had kind of been slogging before that, not worth it for me. So this was a DNF for me, but to be honest, it does offer on the back a bonus download PDF of the 20 master plot checklist on their website. So I will put the link there because it's really, that's the best thing about this book, I guess. If you want to know what the 20 master plots are and the checklist for all of them, that's really all you need. The rest is a slog. The first couple chapters were good and gave a nice little insight about writing, but not enough to be worth buying this. So that is my little salty opinion on this one. Have you read this? Have you heard about the 20 master plots or even the 20 basic plots? The thing is, I don't know why this wasn't edited out or changed, because I know this isn't the original cover of this. Because like I said, this book was published in 1993. So if it got like a new treatment, you think they would have gone through and maybe changed that? It seems like a big misstep from Writer's Digest Books, which I had kind of come to trust as a good publisher for craft books after reading Writing Monsters, which I really enjoyed. But this was an epic fail for me personally. So if you have any thoughts, I would love to hear them down below. And now, after I've kind of cleared the air with this one, I can move on and get back into reading craft books and learning about story and things that I love. And I'm just tired of seeing all this sort of problematic things in craft books. It's driving me crazy. And this one really was one that every time I looked at this book, it just turned my stomach. So I'm going to be getting rid of that. So now that I've done this video and put it out there, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.